Welcome back, everyone. Today's discussion is focused on the reality of fulfilling a data subject access request. For those of you who have been here since the start, you may remember our topic 2, which discussed dealing with the increase in DSARs, where we talked about how COVID, amongst other variables, has caused a surge in data subject access requests. Check it out if you've not already. You can visit our website, www.waterfordtechnologies.com, and visit the podcast or video section. Today we're going to continue that discussion, but focus on a client case study to show the reality of fulfilling a data subject access request. So welcome back, Mark. I know this is a topic that you perhaps deal with daily with some of our clients.
Very much so. I'd say we've had more DSAR activity in the last 18 months than the first 18 years of the organization's existence.
Definitely something that's getting a bit more popular. So let's start by discussing the types of data subject access requests that our clients receive and maybe some info on whom they are receiving them from.
Sure. I suppose we could probably break it down broadly into 4 categories. We get the FOI requests for our government clients, and they're coming from Joe Public, newspapers, legal firms, employees or ex-employees. We have e-discovery requests for help against our clients for legal cases, and again these would come from clients, employees, suppliers, the public, partners, anybody who has interaction with them where an incident may have occurred. A lot more in the last 12 months as it matures in our DSARs around GDPR from, again, Joe Public or newspapers, legal firms, employees. And then you've got your ad hoc requests coming from internal staff. It may not be a legal scenario, it may simply be we need access to legacy information about an order we received 2 years ago. So those 4 would be typically what we are seeing our clients interact with the software.
Okay, certainly an awful lot going on there. I think this might be a good opportunity, maybe if you were able to take us through a scenario when a client comes to us with a data subject access request.
So we're probably doing about 10 a week for our clients now. Quite often they'll come slightly stressed because if it's a formal investigation, that does add that level of stress. They want to make sure they do the search correctly. They may know what to do or they may not know exactly how to do it, but a lot of our clients want the assurance that they're going to get this right and they're going to complete it. And often the process starts with what they're looking for. 9 times out of 10, the requesting officer's subject access request is too vague. They need to be more precise. So it's an ad hoc scenario which brings the stress because they want to get it right. That's a typical scenario that we'd walk through.
Yeah. And then how can your team help? I suppose you're saying you do this maybe 10 plus times a week. What does yourself and your team do to help the client?
So it always starts with the education of the process, because again, even in a training session, when you go through the motions, it's not being used in anger at that point. So it's about taking them through the process and the steps. And that for me always starts with the requests. So analyze the requests, which again, I said are usually too broad or incomplete, or sheer laziness can be there where they aren't pedantic about what they're looking for. So for me, we always start with narrowing the request down to 3 criteria. I want them to bring what date range are we looking for, what is the content we're looking for, and who are the correspondents we're looking for. And I often make them go back to the requesting officers and be exact about those 3 points. If it is November 2017, then get them to define the date range. Don't be lazy and say, look for everything.
Yeah. Okay. And then when clients come to us, I suppose with the DSAR, are there any misconceptions when they're discussing it with you? Like I know you mentioned there about, wider date range, not being tight enough on the information. Any other misconceptions? that they?
Well, often, what's in scope for the search? Are we looking at all data sets or not? When we present the data, what format are we presenting it in? Who are the appropriate people to sign off along the process? And ultimately, when we've done our DSAR, where does the data go? Where does it sit, and who has access to it? So it's a lot more than please find me this, because there's a lot of moving parts in a DSAR that you need to cover off.
Okay. So I suppose the next question, how can the software help? Now, rather than obviously going to go into all our product features and stuff, but what would be the top benefits of using software like Mailmeter when it comes to, I suppose, responding to a data subject access request?
Well, I suppose time, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. So if we don't have a system in place and we have to do it manually, we're sort of wasting our time. There's no verification on an email. An email is not a legal record. You need some verification because it is tamperable. So where to start, how to do it, how much time have I got to do it, and ultimately it's a waste of time because there's no compliance built into the process if we're purely trying to do it manually on our communication device.
Okay. And then, if someone is going to choose a solution like Mailmeter or an alternative solution, what do you think the key consideration should be when choosing a solution?
So every single client we talk to, every single sales demos I do, I break it down into 3 criteria when you're evaluating a solution: cost, complexity, and most importantly, the after-sales service. So they're the 3 things that I would look to for people to understand. Most important in that is the after-sales service. Do we know how to use the technology we have when we have that critical search that we need to do? For our clients, their safety blanket is they don't have to do it because they can come to us and we're going to do it with them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And so then on to our final 2 questions. What do you believe is the first step a company should take to make it easier to fulfill a DSAR? I know I've gone through some of them already, but what's the first step?
So it's to educate the relevant people on the process. In your organization, whether it's software or manual or pen and paper, we've got to understand when we get a DSAR, what does that spark from an activity point of view internally? Does everybody know their role in that process? Who's got elevated privileges to maybe do searches, to review the searches, to sign off on it? Get the 3 criteria I talked about earlier. Be pedantic. Don't be afraid to be very pedantic and exact before you fulfill the DSAR. Be crystal clear on the lines of communication, because it becomes very stressful if we haven't got this done pre-standing on the steps of a courthouse. Okay? I can word it another way. The only people who don't ask me how much Mailmeter costs are the people who are going court to court tomorrow, and I might have done a demo 18 months ago, and now they need the solution in place, and they are stressed, and they are willing to pay whatever it is. Don't get into that scenario. Have the process in place before the event happens.
Okay. And then, as always, Mark, do you have any final tips to leave our followers with today?
I suppose that last sentence, and it's becoming a theme to the last sentence, just because it's not happening or you don't want it to happen doesn't mean, if you're being properly organizing your organization, that you accept it may happen, and are we prepared for it? Can we mitigate the risk? That's the hard bit for us. The software does a really good job when you're using it. It's the education to try and accept that I should have certain types of solutions in place, not necessarily technology, but solutions in place for a what-if scenario.
Okay. Okay, well, thanks again, Mark. We'll hope to see you again next week.
No problem, Laura. Talk to you next week. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. I'm just going to one final conclusion. I suppose we've seen in the news, this week, that data protection agencies are coming under scrutiny over the policing of GDPR. I think that's why today's topic is quite important. I suppose discussing within the organisation here, we have a feeling that companies are going to see stronger enforcement of GDPR. Mark and his team have already seen an increase in DSARs. More than likely, more penalties are going to be given out before the year end. So I suppose if you are looking for more information on this topic, you can visit the website, waterfordtechnologies.com, and you'll find more information under the solutions page under the compliance regulations page. And again, if you have any further questions or you'd like to recommend a topic for the series, just pop it in the comment section below. So thanks again, Mark. Thanks, everybody.
Cheers, Laura. Bye, guys.